This is the heat press. In order to get started on the heat press, you're gonna have to first find the on switch, which is hidden kind of in an unusual spot. It is right under here, under the arm, stabilizing arm, and you can see the switch right there. Just flip that on and the heat press will start heating up. All right, once you have the heat press turned on, you need to make sure that it is set to the correct temperature and time. For most of the applications that we do in the Catalyst lab, we're gonna be working with t-shirts. So we want our temperature to be set to about 380 degrees. This is the current temperature. In order to see what the set temperature is, we're gonna hit the temp button here. And we can see that it's currently set to 350, and we probably want to put that up to about 380. So we're going to use the up and down buttons here to increase our set temperature up to 380. And then additionally, we want to have the time set to usually about 60 seconds for a standard t-shirt that we're going to be using in the Catalyst lab. I think we can. And so to get the time increase, we're just using the up and down arrows. Right now it's set to 30 seconds. So we will again kind of just use our up arrow to get this up to 60 or 1 minute. And then we wait for the heat press to heat up to its temperature of 380 degrees. All right, in order to use the heat press to make a t-shirt, you are going to want to print out your design on our Sublimation printer. First step is to make sure that there's actually paper in the printer. You can check that in the tray here. This is the Sublimation paper. You can tell that it's different from regular printer paper because it has the A sub insignia on the back. And for our Sublimation printer, you can see the icon here. The printing face, which is the white side of this paper, will be facing down. So you just want to make sure that the Sublimation paper is both loaded face down and that this is actually Sublimation paper. The process won't work with regular printer paper. All right, once you have ensured that the printer has the right paper and you are ready to go, you want to pull up your image. I've already got a test image pulled up here in Photoshop that we are going to use to sublimate onto a t-shirt. But when you're sublimating, you need to make sure that you mirror your image. This means that if I were just to print this image as it is, when I place it face down on a t-shirt, the text will come out backwards. So a quick way to do that in Photoshop is we're going to go up to Image, and then do image rotation, and we're just going to flip the horizontal axis here. So now we have a mirrored image. From that point, we'll just come back up to File, go down to Print, and we just want to make sure that the printer that's selected is the Epson ET15000 series. If you look at print settings, you just want to make sure that the paper type is set to presentation paper matte. There's several options here. You might see that it's set to plain or bright white paper. If you do that, you're going to get a much lower quality print. So setting it to presentation paper matte will make the print come out better for your t-shirt. You can click OK and then click print, and the Sublimation printer will give you your image. So one of the things that you may notice when your Sublimation print comes out is that the colors don't actually look quite correct. But this is by design, so the drivers for the printer know which combinations of ink to use so that when you sublimate onto your fabric, this will actually come out looking like the correct Westminster green, which we will show you in a few minutes. So one of the things that can happen with sublimation is that when we take this image, if we put it directly under the t-shirt like this, we'll get a nice design on the shirt, but we'll also get an outline of the paper itself. So one solution to solve for this problem is to take the image, and we are going to just tear a soft kind of like feathered edge all the way around so that when we lay it on the paper, it's not going to have a hard edge, and that will prevent an outline from showing up. So when the paper is like this, you can see that you have a kind of a gradual edge along that torn portion. That's going to prevent you from getting a hard edged outline on the t-shirt, but you'll still have the nice image on the shirt itself. All right, we are almost ready to sublimate our t-shirt. We have our t-shirt, which Innovation Faculty can get for you. We have our image on sublimation paper correctly mirrored, and we have a piece of parchment paper, which we're going to use to prevent the ink from the image transferring onto the heating element itself. And then the last thing that we need is we're going to grab one of these, what we call pillows, from the drawer underneath the heat press. This prevents the image, or the ink from the image, transferring through the shirt from one side to the other. So once we have all 4 of these items, we are ready to put everything onto the heat press and create our t-shirt. So once you have all of your items ready to go, the heat press is at the correct temperature and set to the correct time. We're going to take the handle here and we can just swing the entire heating element out to the side. Do be careful around this area. This is a very hot instrument, so you want to just make sure that there's no one standing nearby when you swing it away. This silicone pad will be pretty warm also, since the heat press has been heating up, but it is, so you don't want to put your hands straight down onto it, but it is not so warm that you can't touch it. So the first thing we're going to do is grab our t-shirt and just lay it onto the silicone pad under the heating element. We're going to take our pillow, and this actually goes inside the t-shirt, like so. We will take our image, and this just goes face down onto the t-shirt itself. And you want to try to line it up usually somewhere of 3 to 5 inches below the collar. But again, this can depend on the size of the image, the size of the shirt, and the sort of design and aesthetic that you're wanting to create. But this should be about good for our example today. And then we'll take our parchment paper, and this is just going to go all the way across the t-shirt from top to bottom. It's usually a good idea to have a large enough piece of parchment paper to cover the entire surface of the shirt, just to prevent the possibility that the heating element burns the fabric. That's very rare, but it does happen in some cases. So having parchment paper to cover the entire shirt will help prevent that. Once all of these elements are in place, then we're going to take the heating element again and swing it back into position. We have 2 handles here. We're going to lift up and lock in place. The timer will begin, and once time has expired, we will release the heating element and get our t-shirt. All right, once the heat press is finished and we've got it pulled up, we're going to swing it back out to the side. Now remember that after this has finished sublimating, everything here is very hot. This was 380 degrees. So we have in the top drawer here a set of tweezers that you can use to just get both the parchment paper. Now sometimes you'll have an edge here where if it's been outside of the heat press, it might not be hot, so I might be able to touch this. But if you're worried about that, you can grab it with tweezers. You can pull off your parchment paper. And then before you move anything, you do want to get the paper off of the shirt. There's a very important reason for this. If this paper, while it is still hot, touches the shirt again, you can get ghosting, which is a secondary image that transfers onto the shirt in a place you don't want it. So we're going to very carefully grab our sublimation paper. We're going to pull this away, and there we have our t-shirt. So once we have our sublimation paper pulled off of the t-shirt, we need to get the t-shirt off of the heat press. Remember that everything here is going to be pretty hot, but the longer it stays off of the heat press, it's going to start to cool down pretty quickly. So we can grab the t-shirt with the sleeves here, just which are not going to be warmed up, and then we just want to get the pillow out of the t-shirt. And so we can just pull it away, let it fall to the floor. It's going to be hot, but not so hot that it will burn you. You can put your t-shirt to one side and just grab the pillow. You can grab this and put it back in the drawer. At this point, we are done. And so we have 2 things. You see I've pulled out our caution hot surface sign. We're going to turn off the heat press, which again is this switch under the arm here. Swing the lid back to its closed position. This heat press plate should stay at a raised position when it is turned off, and while it is still warm, we're just going to put our caution hot surface sign on top of the heat press just so that folks know that it was in use recently and might still be warm to the touch.